Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The New Norm with Selena Hill on Black Enterprise. Now, we are in a COVID-19 pandemic, which has disrupted our lives and changed the world. We're also in a moment that calls for a racial reckoning following the killing of George Floyd, who died in police custody while being recorded on video. But decades before George Floyd's death triggered an international uprising, Rodney King's name was synonymous with police brutality. Today I'm speaking with Lora King, Rodney King's daughter and the founder of the Rodney King Foundation, about the new norm we're currently living in. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Lora.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Yes. Okay, I didn't see you there. Okay, so Lora, you were 7 years old when your father survived a notorious police beating that triggered the LA riots, and he also became the center of the modern day civil rights movement. What do you recall from that time?
You know, pretty much everything. My memory is very vivid when it comes to that because it was something that was relived still to this day for me every day. It was a bit crazy, you know. It was crazy for America because, you know, none of us have ever been exposed to something like this. So it was pretty dramatic.
I think we're probably around the same age. So I too was, alive when that happened, but the details definitely aren't as vivid for me. But what was the hardest part, you would say, about, just going through that whole time?
I'd say still something that follows me to this day, and it's like you can be anywhere at any given moment and just be in a moment of time, and there goes the video, and it's like it's kind of hard process, because you could be anywhere, and it's like you have to suppress your feelings or everything. And every time I see that video, it causes a reaction for me. So it's a bit hard to process still to this day.
Now, there's a story out that says that the person who recorded that video that you're talking about, that camera that they used to record the video is actually going on auction, starting with a bid of $225,000. How do you feel about that?
I have mixed emotions. I feel like part of it should definitely be donated to the Rodney King Foundation, because we're out here doing the footwork for social justice, human rights, police relations. It's weird because I had an emotional reaction right when I found out. I don't know I guess that's normal, but it was
when you found out about the auction, the camera going on auction.
Yeah, and looking at it, actually looking at it, it was like, I don't know, it was like mixed emotions for me. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. I didn't expect that.
Do you feel in any way it's being the camera itself or the incident is being exploited?
I do, because I feel like it should be in an African American museum. I feel like, any donation should be for a cause, something that's promoting positivity in the world. I feel like none of that was ever talked about, So yeah, in a sense, I do. I honestly do.
So you didn't even know that this camera was going up for auction?
I just found out when they showed it on TMZ recently, when everybody else found out. Yeah, I had no idea.
But like you said, if, let's say, a portion of the money that's raised with this camera, if it was donated to the Rodney King Foundation, you would accept it, right?
Absolutely. We sure would.
Okay, so let's actually talk a little bit more about the organization, the Rodney King Foundation. When and why did you start this?
I actually, before my father passed in 2012, in 2010, I started feeding the homeless on Skid Row. I would go twice a month, just on my own, and my dad would get mad at me for spending my own money. So after he died, I couldn't think of any way to honor him that was a high magnitude other than what he told me, start a foundation. That way you can, but I didn't want to because, all the footwork and all that. But after he passed, I'm like, duh, that's what I can do, And then I went through the grieving process for years, so I stopped everything. So just the past, I want to say like 2 years, I've gotten back into it. And it's been therapeutic for me because I'm still going through it every day. It's really hard for me to accept that my father's not here. So in order to find strength, I just decided to do this full time.
Wow. And for those of you who don't know, Rodney King passed in 2012 in a very unfortunate and tragic incident with a swimming pool. And again, I'm so sorry for that. What is the mission and what are some of the goals of the Rodney King Foundation?
Our mission is basically to bridge the gaps with community, police reform, mentorship in inner cities. We work with a nonprofit called Engage the Vision, also with a nonprofit called Tranquility Counseling in Long Beach. And Engage the Vision goes every single week in LAUSD schools, and they mentor every Friday. And it's like, that is major, especially for me as a kid. If I had that, I think my life will be so much different. And it's like, oftentimes parents are not able to, and I'm guilty of it as well. We're not always able to provide our kids with what they need as far as emotional, just expressing themselves differently. So it's like, they do so many things in the community that kids need, as far as art and affirmations and just self-esteem building. And they just got a contract to help young girls. So that's like major for us, along with Tranquility Counseling. They feed the homeless in Long Beach at King Park twice a month. And it's like, those things are like needed in the community. And it's like, oftentimes we're not as fortunate as other people. So it's just been a real blessing. And this weekend, actually, we'll be having our first big backpack drive. So that's a big thing because, COVID, a lot of the kids are not going to school, but in certain communities, they still don't have supplies. Like, you still need a backpack. You still need utensils, things like that, So I'm really excited about that, to go out in the Watts area and just fellowship with the people, of course, with COVID restrictions, but that's a big deal,
Yes, and I know, on top of that, you launched the I Am King scholarship. I want to talk about that, and also the Walk in Love initiative that you started as well. How have your childhood experiences sort of influenced these initiatives that you started?
For me, I've been fortunate enough to have guardian angels at times where I felt like I was like all alone going through things, because as you can tell in the media, everything my dad did was posted in the media, whether it was true or not. So I had to learn, ways to cope. And one of the things I found God at an early age on my own in a school I was going to, the teacher and the principal actually had their own church. So I would go to Bible study with them, and I would go to soup kitchens on the weekend, feed the homeless with them. And they were white, and they loved me unconditionally. And I felt like that helped a big, part of who I am. Had I not had that, I probably would be a little angry, a little, things like that. But having them taught me that unconditional love is any race. It's not just Black people. It's not just white people. It's not just orange people, so it allowed me to bridge gaps. It allowed me to have all walks of life of friends, and the I Am King scholarship. Well, I wanted to launch that because the media has this way of portraying Black men as angry, upset, or not loving, not caring for their kids. And it's like, a lot of them are just trying to provide for their family. And honestly, they don't have the time and the money together. And they will never say that, because for me, I know it's a pride thing. I would never want to admit to my kids, like, I can't afford to take you out, So we wanted to provide that fellowship with them, and so that they can build the self-esteem within kids, because we know that, I know for me, my first love was my father. Of course, the media didn't portray that, but he was a great dad. He loved his kids. And like, for that love, that I'm learning to carry that on and have the domino effect. So we just wanted to just have that same effect for African-American fathers, so that it could be less of a burden that they would have to spend a bill money to take their kid out, when we can just provide the whole day of family fun, and they don't have to worry about the stress of how they're going to pay their car note and take the kids, to something maybe as small as a movie.
Your father, George Floyd's death has triggered an uprising, international, all around the world. We see the Black Lives Matter movement is flooding the streets. It's all over social media. In what ways do you think the Black Lives Matter movement today is different than the uprisings that we've seen in the past?
I think it's different because more different nationalities are actually involved. They actually care more. They're actually on the front lines saying enough is enough. Before, you didn't see that. They would say things behind closed doors, but they would never get on camera, or they would never be out in the streets fighting for us. So now it's different because, we're at a place where everybody is fed up and speaking out. And sometimes, unfortunately, it takes other races to speak out on injustice, rather than us just fighting, and it's like we're muted. Now you hear more people speaking loudly, so to me, that's where I get the hope from. Sometimes it's hard because it's like, I feel like the media is making it numb. It's like, this is a repetitive thing. So it's like, oh, that's normal. But now that people are speaking up, it's like, it's taking a different approach.
Lora, how do you feel about the rioting? Obviously your father's beating triggered the LA riots, and some sectors and some parts of the Black Lives Matter movement, it's been reported that there have been riots. We actually saw the Minneapolis police station go up in flames on live television. What do you feel about that aspect of protest?
Honestly, I have mixed emotions. I can't speak for people that are hurting, because we all hurt differently and we all handle things differently. I can only speak for myself, but what I can say is I understand. I understand the frustration. I understand the hurt. I don't condone it. But like I said, I can't speak for anyone else. I do feel sorry for the people that are business owners, because it's like a lot of these people work their whole life. They may have came from different countries to spend their last drop, or whatever the case may be. Like, I do feel sorry for them because they worked hard for their businesses, However, the other part that I battle with is, now it's a sense of state of emergency when looting is involved, but it's not a state of emergency when a Black man is killed on camera. I have a problem with that. I do. And so it's like, oh, it's state of emergency, people are looting. What about somebody's life? Like, that should be a state of emergency. We shouldn't have to get to this point. We shouldn't be at this point. We should never be at this point. And like I said, again, I don't condone it, but I'm saying I understand the hurt and frustration.
What are your thoughts about finally moving past this and moving forward and get into a place of healing? Do you think that you would live in your lifetime to actually see a day where police brutality is not an issue?
I want to say yes and no. I'm hopeful, seed of mustard, faith of mustard seed. I'm very hopeful. I hope it does come one day. I feel like as long as we are open to have intimate conversations, uncomfortable conversations, we can get to that point. But if we are overlooking the problem, then we're never going to get to that point. If you don't see that this is a major problem, we're never going to get to that point. But if we're on the same accord, I feel like we 100% could get to that point.
Yes, and I know you keep making references about your faith, faith the size of mustard seed. You just said that. How much has your faith helped you in just this entire process? Because not only are you, grieving the loss of your father, but you have to relive the most traumatic event that he went through by watching all these other Black people, Black men and women go through the same type of incidents with police force. And, it's all over social media. It's constantly reported in the news.
Right. A big percentage is faith-based, because I want to operate out of my ego. I want to operate out of my hurt place. And you can't, because that's not healing for the world. It's not going to do anything. So I do rely majorly on God, majorly. And, I promote that. Whoever you serve or whatever your higher power is, if that's what helps you get through, then I promote that. As long as it's not killing or hurting anybody, I strongly suggest leaning on that.
Yes. And Lora, I know you have children of your own, and we are in a new generation of, children, Gen Z. They are out there in the front lines of the Black Lives Matter movement today. what is it that you want your own children to know about your father? And what is it that this new generation of protests and activists need to know about Rodney King?
My daughter, fortunately, she got no father as her grandfather. She didn't know anything about who he really was until after he passed. And she saw it on the TV, because I didn't expose her to anything, because I wanted her to have her own judgment. And so that was a blessing for me. But on the flip side, my son is the first boy in our family, like in our immediate family. So he's like a king, and it's like, I think about that, and it's sad to me that that's hard to process for me to like explain that whole process. And then the fact that I have to be honest, like one day hopefully not, something like this doesn't happen to you, but you can't really prepare your son for that. That's another sad thing for me too. It's like, I shouldn't even have to have that conversation with him. And, explaining to him who his grandfather is, that's a beautiful thing. I'm excited about that. But on the flip side, I have to explain this, and he's still going to be exposed to watching this video. And, it's even hard for my daughter, and she's now 13. Just hearing everything, all the negativity and everything that comes with it, it's a bit of a struggle.
And what is it that you would want people to know, outside of the incident? What is it that you would want people to know about Rodney King, your father?
My father was, he had a heart of gold. He would give you the shirt off his back, literally. And that's major. Given somebody that's been through something like that, you would think that they would be bitter, upset, angry. He wasn't at all. He gave, and he taught us the same thing, and it's like, whatever he didn't have, he tried to make a way to make it happen. He would go to high schools and do things for the football team. He would come up to our school and like play on lunch. He would come to my field trips. Any kid who couldn't, whatever the case may be, couldn't afford, he would fund that. And it's like, none of that was ever portrayed, and he never looked for glorification, but he still did what he was supposed to as a man. And I just think that we should all have the domino effect on the world, and we can all make a difference, rather than watching TV and believing everything that you see, because oftentimes it's, like, for example, with George Floyd, how they broke down his character. Instead of saying what it was, they had to break down his character to make people feel better about him being killed. It's like, we need to learn how to get to know people, who they are, if that makes sense. It's just crazy.
Yes, it is. And is there anything else that you want us to know about the Rodney King Foundation?
I just encourage you to go to the website, rodneyking.org, sign up for the newsletter, see how you can get involved. We'd love to hear your feedback, get involved in any of the community events that we're doing with the homeless, with the youth, with police relations, anything like that. It'd be to hear from you.
Welcome to the New Norm with Selena Hill on Black Enterprise. Today, I'm speaking with Emmy award-winning actress and producer Karrueche Tran, who opens up about her family, friends, career journey, and her current relationship with former NFL star Victor Cruz on her new Facebook Watch show, Stir It Up. Thank you so much for being here today, Karrueche.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It feels good to be able to work from home.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. So what can we expect from Stir It Up?
Oh, just a little bit of everything. I talk about my family, friends, my relationship, personal things about me, like growing up with scoliosis and how I've dealt with that, and the things that I do to help with my scoliosis. We talked about skincare. I have an episode with Victor, which is really fun. I think what I love most is just being able to be myself and show my personality. And it's such a fun and interesting way to engage with my supporters and with with the audience that will be watching. I think I'm just super excited to see have people see a different side of me. I think on social media and Instagram and Twitter, you know, I do show like little bits here and there, but to be just open and honest and have those type of conversations and to just talk about my life and certain things that I didn't really talk about or say much about, I think it'll be pretty cool. And I think it's no better time to release content right now.
No, for sure.
So yeah, it's perfect timing, and we were able to film this in a very safe and responsible way. Obviously, you know, because of COVID. So luckily, you know, we were able to work it out.
Yeah, I want to talk about that pivot because you were working on TV shows like Jeopardy and Claws. And I think you were supposed to actually finish up filming earlier this year, and then COVID happened. How was that pivot like for you as an actress? Now you're a content creator, essentially.
It's been interesting, you know, because when quarantine first happened and we were sent home from Claw, I was in New Orleans shooting Claws. We're like, oh, okay, in 2 weeks we'll be back. Like, it'll be a little thing. Like, we're good. I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. But it's been like 5 months. Yep. So, you know, during this time, and more so in the beginning, it was just like, oh my God, what's happening? How am I going to be able to further my career? How am I going to be able to work? How are we going to work on sets now? You know what I'm saying? When you're acting, it can be very personal and you're in each other's space. If you have sex scenes, you're like exchanging spit with one another, you know what I mean? And, you know, all these questions just kind of come into play. And I am so grateful and thankful that everything has been able to work out, that I'm able to have these different avenues of work where I can still work and I can still, you know, create content, engage my fans and keep them interested in, you know, what I've got going on. So it's good. It was scary, but I think, you know, the world is starting to learn how to adjust to this new norm that we're experiencing now. So it's weird, but you know, we're making it happen.
Yeah, I'm definitely still adjusting myself, but this is not your first career pivot. You know, 10 years ago, which literally seems like a lifetime ago, you were a celebrity stylist. And I read that you were focusing your career more so on fashion. And then obviously you got into a very high profile relationship with Chris Brown and you became Karrueche Tran. How did that sort of, you know, time in your life and the hardships that you had to deal with shape the person who you are today?
I think it's just the journey and the story in its entirety, or my journey and my story in its entirety of trial and error, of learning from my mistakes, learning to love myself, learning to put myself first. I think it's a little bit of all of that I had to go through. And this is something also that I talk about on the show. So maybe I shouldn't say too much.
You can tease a little bit for us.
I gotta leave a little bit there. But it was hard. There was a lot. It was quite the roller coaster. But thankfully, you know, I took those mistakes and I took those lessons and I've learned from it. And even to this day, as far as I've come now, I'm still learning and I'm still growing and maturing as an actor, as a female, as a Black female in the entertainment industry, as a lover, as a daughter, as a friend and a sister. So it definitely shaped who I am today. And I think that's the beautiful thing about life, is that we all go through our own situations, our own journeys, our own stories, and that creates who we are and our individuality. And I love that, you know, we all have our own story to tell.
Yeah, and it just so happens that yours played out in a very public way.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, and that's the only difference. The only difference. Would you say you're more career oriented today than maybe 10 years ago or a few years ago? Are you more so focused on your career now?
100%. back then I was still young and growing, you know what I mean? I was a young female from Los Angeles. You know, I grew up out here and I was still living out here. So I had to navigate, you know, through all that. But luckily everything, you know, turned out okay.
Yes, yeah, and you're doing a phenomenal job. You know, I think one of the most interesting things that I'm looking forward to with Stir It Up, besides your skincare regimen, because your skin is always glowing.
Thank you.
But you know, I understand that you have an episode with Victor Cruz. What made you guys be so public with your relationship? Like, you know, what makes you say, like, I'm not afraid to share our love and our romance in this way?
I think that I think that me and Victor's relationship is not, it's public, but to a certain extent. And that's why I love that I have him on the show on Stir It Up, because you kind of see more than what you see on Instagram and social media. I think we have accepted us as a couple being public because we're both people that are in the public eye. And so at this point, it is what it is. You know, we can't hide forever. You know what I mean? We have to have fun and be able to live our lives. But what you see online and on social media is a portion of who we really are. And so with being able to have him on my show, and we did a really fun and cute segment together that shows a lot of our personality and how we are and interact with one another. I think it's really cool, and I think the fans will really love it.
Yeah, and you know, another thing you've been using your social media platforms to really advocate for is racial justice. You've been posting about Breonna Taylor, you know, George Floyd, and the Black Lives Matter movement. When did you decide to become so involved, and why is it important for you to use your platform in this type of way?
I was always involved, and I've always been a supporter of Black Lives Matter. I mean, I'm a Black woman, so that's enough to say, you know. But this year, it just, I don't know, it triggered something different, and I feel like for some reason everything just made sense in a more clear and just different way. And when we were experiencing what was happening with Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd, I don't know. There was something that happened within me. Maybe it was understanding more of who I am and where I come from. But I can't really pinpoint that feeling. I know it was tough to go through that, especially during quarantine, to be stuck at home. And then I remember every day waking up, like at 6 a.m., I'd wake up so early and get on my phone right away and read so many different articles and just be like so enraged, you know, with what was happening in our world. And for me, I think it became very clear that I have been given this platform for a big reason outside of just social media and Instagram and the internet. You know, I have a huge following, a huge engagement, 9 million followers on Instagram. But the fact that I can use that and utilize my voice in such a way that is going to help and to better the world and to support the Black community who has suffered for so long, you know, I feel like I made a commitment to myself, like, you know what? I love acting. I love being able to collab and do all these other things. But the bigger picture in life is like, I have this platform, I have this voice to reach the masses in this type of way. And that's why I continuously post in support of the Black community, whether it's showing police brutality, whether it's showing protests, whether it's a Black business that I support or that I want to support, and also reworking the way that I spend my dollar. I would much rather spend my dollar with a Black company, with a Black brand, because they deserve it, you know? And even when it came to candles, when it came to my plants in my house, just every little thing, I started to think about different things and to change that perspective and to just continue to pour back into the Black community.
So Karuchi, what's next for you? I know we're in the middle of a pandemic, when a resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement. What is next? Where do you see yourself going?
As far as like my career, or?
Yes.
Well, I have much longer to go. For me, this is still just the beginning of my career. I wanna do an indie film. I want to do a motion picture. I want to do different roles that explore my talent and really show my talent. I love being able to play Virginia on Claws. She is so much fun. She is like my alter ego, but I definitely don't want to be stuck in that role and be typecast as Virginia's type of character. I want to do different, raw, gritty, real roles. And so, in the near future, hopefully that'll happen, and I know it will, with time and patience and hard work, and continuing to stay in my acting classes. Don't know how that's gonna work right now with quarantine, but Clifton Powell, who is an amazing actor, I did a movie with him a couple of years ago, and he told me to always stay in my acting classes, regardless of where I go in life. Always perfect and work on your craft. And that's something that kind of stuck with me, because Clifton Powell's amazing. He's done so much in his career. And so for him to tell me that, it really stuck with me. And that's something that I truly do want to live by, because I think it's very important. It's like athletes who go to on a basketball player on a basketball team. They don't stop working out. They work out even more and even harder. And so that's what I need to do to get to the point that I want to in my career. Just takes a lot of time.
It does. Well, good luck to you and everything you're doing. You're doing a phenomenal job. Good luck with everything. And thank you so much for your time. Today, I'm super excited to speak with actress and activist Gabrielle Union and esteemed celebrity hairstylist Larry Sims. Together, they relaunched the hair care line Flawless by Gabrielle Union. Gabrielle, you originally launched this line in 2017. What was the inspiration behind the line back then?
At the time, it was an amazing opportunity that was presented to me to be the face of, my own hairline. And it sounded amazing. And I was going to be able to provide great products. But the thing about the 2017 version is it was only Black fronted. It was not Black led, and it was certainly not Black owned. We had great products, but the price was really, really, really high. And we were selling at a place that is not in all of our communities. So there was a disconnect between having really expensive products not sold in stores that are in most Black and brown communities, and it not being Black owned. So as soon as that deal ended, I was committed to wrestling back control of the company, making sure that it was Black owned, Black led, Black marketed, and it really centered the needs and voices of Black women specifically.
Now, Larry, back in 2017, you helped Gabrielle revive and restore her hair. You talked about, Gabrielle, how you suffered from hair loss after the IVF treatments. What exactly did you do? And also, how did you become part of this brand and then a part owner of Flawless?
Yeah, thank you. Well, it was a very traumatic experience, obviously, for both Gabrielle and me. I felt like it was my hair that was falling out. We were working on Being Mary Jane during the time, and I remember us having to be bound by wigs. And, you know, to see one of the most beautiful actresses in the world lose her hair, you know, and that's in front of cameras, you know, it was just a very, very, very emotional experience. So I made it my mission, to make a long story short. We both made it our mission to try to figure out a way to grow her hair back. We tried every single thing that you could think of, anything that they said that worked on Instagram. We were like, order 5. But it wasn't until we actually started to play with natural ingredients that we saw results. I did some research, she was doing research. We came up together like mad scientists, and you know, the biotin, the rice oil, the rice water, the creatine, the Bakuri butters, a lot of the oils that we have in Flawless, they all as a combination just worked. And you know, when Gab was discussing revamping Flawless and making it Black owned and wanted to lead it, you know, she had the opportunity to bring me on, and she offered, you know, generously ownership, a thing in which I had never been offered in my career. And I've been, you know, partners with many different brands throughout my career. And it took one of my best friends to bring me on, brought me out of those deals and brought me on and made me an owner. So the skin is different when you're in the game in that way.
Absolutely. So let's talk about this new collection. You guys rolled it out at the beginning of August. What is different about Flawless 2020 in comparison to Flawless 2017?
The ingredients. The ingredients. We really leaned into innovation and then our own experimentation. And between the two, figured out what combination of ingredients worked for our ingredient story. We took out the silicones, the parabens, and the sulfates. We are committed to educating about why those things are no longer in our products, and educating our consumers about the, you know, some of the more harmful effects of those things, and explaining why these new ingredients are so much better for us and the environment, and they're effective and they work. And then we lowered the price point. Like it actually makes you a jerk if you figure out a solution, but then you price everybody out of that solution. So we wanted to make sure that our products that are amazing were actually affordable. So we lowered the price points. Everything is between $4 and $10. And then Amazon is literally everywhere. You know, we wanted to make sure, especially during COVID, where most people are shopping online, that they were able to get their hands on these products. And then for our brick and mortar, which will launch October 1st, we've partnered with Sally's Beauty. And we specifically chose Sally's Beauty because they are in our communities. They have been in our communities, and they welcome our dollars without demonizing our customers.
I'm so happy you brought up the price point because, you know, as you said, these products are $10 and below. Huge difference than the first time around. How was it that you were able to preserve the quality but still lower the price point?
Cutting into the profit margin.
Yeah.
Like, we're not doing this to line our pockets. We're doing this because we figured out a solution to many problems that textured women are facing. And we do okay in our regular day jobs. And it was important that we make these prices truly, much more affordable than they had been. Like I said, we're just kind of both committed to not being jerks and jackasses. And we just wanted to make sure that our own family members could afford our products. And the way that it was in 2017, if we weren't offering freebies, my own family couldn't afford it. So that was a problem. But I was not in control. So as much as I, raised my hand and said, hey, this is what I'd like to do. At the end of the day, if you are not majority Black owned or a Black owned company, your voice is about as big as your equity piece.
And Larry, you working directly in the hair industry, how do you see Black hair salons and those who own it? How are they coping with COVID-19? And what advice would you give? Because everyone's trying to pivot, but if they work in this industry, what advice, what should they be doing now?
Yeah, I think that a lot of salon owners definitely, and freelance hairstylists, people that do what I do for a living, that don't have deals the way that I have a deal with Flawless. It's just hard to sustain. And, you know, a lot of people have gone out for the grants and have gone out for unemployment and have tried their best to just hold on. And, you know, one thing that I do know as a creative is that what we do is we make people feel amazing. And as soon as people have the opportunity to have access to our gifts, then I think that they will be knocking on our doors and calling our phones. So to other hairstylists, I would just say to hold on, you know, as long as you can, you know, because we need you, our communities need you. You know, like what Gab said in terms of the initiatives that we are a part of, one person that we are celebrating and uplifting is Felicia Leatherwood. She's a celebrity hairstylist. We've included her natural hairbrush in our packaging in terms of what we're giving out to our communities and to, you know, our celebrity friends, just to shine a light on her business, because we want her to shine as well. And if we can find opportunities to continue to incorporate other artists, you know, I think that would help the community in a much larger scale.
Yeah, and we want to encourage other. I'm sorry, we want to encourage other Black-owned companies to do the same.
Absolutely.
You know, it doesn't take a lot to share your light, and it in no way dims yours. So hopefully, other people, you know, pick up on this initiative and implement it in their business plan as well. So as we're all trying to claw our way out of this pandemic intact, that you are grabbing as many people as you can and bringing them along with you.
Yeah.
Speaking of business plans, you guys are business partners, but outside of that, you're real life friends. I heard you once say best friends. You know, there's like a little stigma. A lot of people say don't do business with family, or, you know, don't jeopardize your friendship by going into business. How are you guys making it work? And what advice would you give anyone who is considering going into business with a family member or a friend?
Well, well, I would say we've already crossed that bridge. We've been in business for so long. We've worked with each other. We've known each other for almost 20 years, 15 years, you know, and
20,
yeah.
We met on Bring It On.
We met on Bring It On. We
Oh my
didn't work
God,
together.
my favorite.
But we met.
Yeah, we met on Bring It On, and I think that it's the best thing that I could have ever done for myself and my career. And there's no better feeling than going to work with somebody that you love and respect. And that's the difference. When you have a level of respect and admiration for the tone of who they are, for their morality, their moral, I think that, you know, I struck gold with this one over here. So. Yeah. Do it with passion.
Yeah, you know, it gets real tricky. It's a little tricky with family and with friends, but it's not with Larry. And part of that is because of our shared commitment to the community and what we're doing with this project. And if it was all about lining our pockets and increasing the profit margins and how to, you know, gouge, you're going into business with a different mindset. But when you're going into business and it's all love and it's about the upliftment of our community and providing opportunity and resources to more of us, it's a little different than if this was my only job or source of income or Larry's only source of income. But you have to be in alignment with, you know, they say mind, body, and soul, but your morals and your values and how you think of business and your definitions of success, your definitions of sharing, your definitions of accountability. You have to be in alignment, and you have to have those discussions well ahead of time, because otherwise you're going to find yourself midstream and usually in success. When people feel like, well, that's my success. You only did this much, and you start trying to quantify the contribution. And the reality is, if we all go into business together, this is what it is. Let's be real clear about our goals, And we have to be real clear that no matter whether this, you know, swims or sinks, our foundation as human beings does not change.
1,000%.
Because you start to see people get a little tricky. You know, when it's time to write the check or give it up or give up credit where it's due, like people get real tricky and egos get involved. But at this stage of our careers, we've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and we're no longer interested. And it's just really about more of us.
Giving back and pouring into the community. And, you know, Gabrielle, we love your 1-year-old daughter. She's been rocking her curls. She is literally the mood of 2020. Like, she gives us life. What do you want your young daughter to know and feel about her hair? Because the reality is, us as Black women, we don't always grow up loving our hair. It's always something to do. It's always a process. You got to get your hair done because it doesn't look right. What do you want her to feel?
Well, first I had to start unlearning some of the patriarchal, misogynistic, anti-Black ideologies that have kind of like permeated a lot of our thoughts and decisions around our hair as Black women. I refuse to pass that on to Kav and Zaya. I want them to be real sticklers for healthy hair, but how they present themselves in the world is going to be a personal choice. Well, for Kav, it's, you know, she literally would be like, here, and she'll hand me a brush on the day she wants, you know, to match mommy, or she wants a little ponytail or whatever. And then there's days where she's just like, after you get the leave-in and then the curl cream, she's like, I'm good. Let me do what I do. Let it do what it do. And I don't want to give her a complex about how she needs to be presentable to anyone. Because however we present, if you want to present exactly how your hair grows out of your head, however that is, beautiful, amazing. I'll be more upset if she commits to split ends. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't want either of my girls to feel like their worth or their value is tied into how they present and who out there is giving them attention. I want them to be happy within, and then make whatever personal choice they want to make about how they present to the world and how they move through the world. That's all just a personal choice.
And what a wonderful example. You know what I mean? Like, it's so amazing to me that even though she's such a great friend of mine, to watch her as a parent and instill those values in people that give some people that don't have it complexes for their lives about their appearance. So, you know, I just always applaud her for instilling those contributions to her children.
Yeah, I mean, and you see the comments, and people are like, "How come your hair is always done?" And Kav's hair is, her curls are everywhere. I'm like, and guess what? She's still smart. She's still amazing. She still has followers who love her. To just see her exactly as she is. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to start the, her Instagram page. I shared her with the world because people had been a part of my heartbreak for many years. And once she arrived, she was just such a blessing. And she represented so much hope to so many people who had been without hope. But I didn't want to have to qualify her presence with like all these expensive clothes or her hair done, perfectly every single day. I wanted her to be able to be a little Black girl that exists as she feels like it from birth. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If you love her, you love her because of her personality, not because of what she has on or not because of, what her hair looks like. And if we can start this when they're babies and, and keep that going, we're addressing some of the issues that have been around and plaguing Black women for centuries and has been a different kind of bondage. I don't ever want my kids to feel like they have to look a certain way in order for the rest of the world to catch up to their brilliance or their capabilities.
And that's beautiful, Gabrielle. But I feel like this is a much different conversation than we were having back in 2012. And as you were talking about the beauty of your daughter, I couldn't help but think about when Blue Ivy was that age. And it was a different conversation, especially in our community. And it was, you know, you heard those comments, well, her hair isn't done. And, you know, Beyonce doubled down. She said, I like my baby's hair with baby hair and afros. And that's the trend. Larry, how do you feel and how do you see the evolution of Black girls' hair just manifesting in pop culture and in time?
Yeah, I don't think that I've ever seen the diversity in choices that I see today. I love how people are celebrating what has been born, what they've been born with. You know, I think culturally we've been taught to fight against those curls, fight against that texture, tame it, make it pretty, make it presentable. And I just love the fact that people are saying, you know what, this is my presentable. Take it or leave it. Respect it, celebrate it. Even in fashion, you know, I'm seeing like a lot of runways and a lot of the covers that we do. Things are being celebrated in terms of things that aren't perfect and things that are undone. And I just love the evolution of where we are today.
Okay, well, we'll have to leave it there because I know you two have very busy schedules. But thank you so much for this line, this product, your commitment to the community and just educating us. It really goes a long way, a very long way.
No,
Absolutely.
Thank you. And I want to make sure that we shout out the first 4 companies that we are including in our list as we climb. Minted Cosmetics, yes. Honey Pot. They tried it with Honey Pot. They keep winning. Vegan Smart and True Color Bandages.
Band-Aids, yes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much and best of luck with everything.